Oh, quorum is present. Would you stand for the prayer and remain standing for the pledge? To be led by Ward 2.
Our Father in heaven, as we bow in thy presence, we want to thank you for all the many blessings of life. We're thankful for each and every one that's here this evening, and we pray that the things that we do be in accordance with thy will. We want to especially pray for our military personnel, our leaders, and the families of those people that give so much. We'd ask that you be with us through this meeting tonight, for it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So moved. Second.
On the minutes, Gibson,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Berry,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Communications.
We need to read number 4 probably first, Mr. Berry. And I want to pull 1 for to be read
I move
next time.
we accept 1 through 5, please.
Second.
Or 6.
1 through 6. I'd like to have 4 read and also 1 read.
Okay.
4 probably needs to be read first.
On the motion?
On the motion on the other 4, Gibson,
Yes.
Bryant,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Berry,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Height,
Yes.
and Witcher.
Yes.
Communication number 4 is a letter dated November 9, 2005. Ms. Diane Whitby, members of the North Little Rock City Council. Dear Ms. Whitby and City Council members, this is to advise that I will be out of town on Monday, November 14, 2005, attending the American Public Power Association Legal Seminar in San Antonio, Texas. Alderman Gary Berry will be presiding over the City Council meeting in my absence. Regarding any legislation that I have sponsored, Alderman Berry will be aware of my request regarding the same. Thanking you in advance, I remain sincerely Patrick H. Hayes, Mayor.
Move accepting 5.
Second.
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Number 1, by title or in its entirety.
Just by title.
This is a letter from Wayne Rathman, District Manager, Waste Management. It's regarding an increase effective December 1st, 2005 from $1.80 per month to $1.89 based on a 5.2% upward fluctuation in the Consumer Price Index.
Move accepting 5.
Second.
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Berry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
I guess we'll move to, we don't have any presentations, but to unfinished business.
Okay. Resolution 05-150, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution accepting the low bid of Signs First for a sign at the North Shore Maritime Center in the city of North Little Rock.
Oh, excuse me, I want to hold there.
Ordinance 0571, Alderman Parker and Witcher.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance to amend zoning ordinance number 7697 to remedy an error in a map. Third and final reading.
Question. Go ahead, Mr. Witcher.
Okay. All right, I have 2 things I'd like to do. First, I would like our city attorney to restate his position for us one more time. And then there has popped up at the last minute an additional property owner that will be involved with this particular ordinance, Mr. Ron Keltner. I'd like for him to visit with us for a moment.
Certainly. As stated in an opinion my office issued, clearly, according to planning, an error was made. They acknowledge an error, and our advice is the only person that can correct that is not my office, it's not planning or the planning commission, it's the city council. I think the safest course of action is to correct your error. Whatever decision the city council makes, it's obviously the obligation of my office to defend this action of the city council, and that's what I'll do. That's what our advice is.
I yield.
Mr. Boyles, what is the land use plan on this piece of property?
Land use plan shows R4 on this property.
So the R4 and so the land use plan matches the zoning.
That's correct. That was adopted in 2002.
2002, and then so the land use in 2002 was residential, and the rezoning map change was in 2000,
Well, in March of this year.
March of 2005. So
Right.
at that point, the zoning matched the land use.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, could we ask Mr. Kellner to address us regarding his concern?
Good evening. I own the two properties just immediately west of the property that's under discussion. One of them, I guess,
Sir, if you would you please give us your name?
okay, it's Ron Keltner.
Okay.
One of them is in the area that should be zoned I-2, and then the one next to it is C3 zoning. Now, I've owned these properties for over 25 years, and the property under discussion here has always been a salvage yard. I mean, there's been all kinds of stuff back there. I can't see it being residential or multifamily at all. This has all been commercial or light industrial over here where we are. So I would hope that you would approve correcting the issue and making it I-2.
Mayor, may I ask Mr. Kellner a couple of questions, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kellner, all right, is it my understanding that you actually own the property that fronts on Young Road?
That's correct.
Which, okay, and this property that we are considering sits behind you, might
Well,
I
it's a
say
little
behind
to
you?
the side and behind me.
Side and behind you, okay. And then you have another property adjacent to it
Yes,
that
sir.
according to our maps is listed as C3.
Correct.
And how have you been using that?
Well, right now, they're both leased to landscapers.
Okay,
You know, they've got their heavy equipment out there and trees, and they're bringing their old railroad ties from landscaping jobs and so forth. So it's
Mr. Kellner,
always
can you
been,
show me on this map, because I'm having difficulty. I would think that
that's it. I own this one
on
right
this
here.
piece of property right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
And this one right here.
okay. And Young Road comes around, and
Actually, Young Road goes down this way.
I thought so.
Yeah, it doesn't go up there.
I didn't think it did.
Down through there.
Comes right through.
That map was partially on also.
Yeah.
Adlin Thomas?
No, I didn't have anything for this.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind if I ask him one question?
No, go ahead.
Were you given notice of this correction by the planning department? You showed me a letter earlier that you had received
I
notice
received
of
this
this.
letter dated, September 26th,
So you were aware of this ordinance before the city council?
not before this letter, no.
Okay, but you were aware of it before tonight? And
Yes,
the other
yes,
meetings? Okay,
yes.
so you did get notice that this was happening?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Susky or Mr. Mayor, I have one question then of him. If this gentleman has known about this since September, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Then why are you waiting until November to come forward?
I was busy doing some other things, and I put it off to the side. Then Mr. Ingram had called me, asking me to help, and I looked in it. I went down to Robert the other day, and he filled me in on it, so I decided I needed to be here tonight.
Thank you.
Any other alderman?
Mr. Mayor, I guess,
Mr. Pfeiffer would like to speak too before it's over.
I was just going to say, too, I think 2 weeks ago, the mayor specifically asked that we hold it so he could meet with the attorney, and he's not here, so I would like to have his input into it.
Terry, I'd like to recognize Mr. Pfeiffer also.
Mr. Pfeiffer, if you would, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. There's been some thought that there's been a hardship represented on some of the property owners for having to come down here meeting after meeting while this thing has been under consideration. But I would like to say that I know that there's also been a hardship on you. This has been a difficult issue for you to consider, and you've been down here every time also. And I know that you've given it your best consideration, and you haven't acted hastily on this. And I thank you for the attention that you've given the matter. The previous speaker spoke to the issue of owning some land on Young Road. I'm the owner of all of the land on the south side of Young Road along its entire length from North Shore Drive east to the abandoned bridge over White Oak Bayou, and the owner on the north side of the road east of subject site all the way to White Oak Bayou. So if there's consideration being given for other ownerships on Young Road, I'd like to say that I'm asking you not to pass this matter tonight. The previous speaker spoke to the issue of how the property is being used, and obviously, no offense to him or his tenants, Young Road is presently a blighted area. It's an area of which none of us can be proud, and that fault does not lie with you. You inherited that area. Is outside the city, subject to your extraterritorial jurisdiction, and it became the way it was not on your watch. But the question is, do we as a city try to clean it up, or do we simply endorse what's out there and try to make it worse? And the issue before us here is that we can start now trying to clean up what is out there rather than allow this to happen and make it worse. It certainly is a possibility that the existing map has an error, but it's a certainty that the existing zoning classification ordinance has an error. Many times in that ordinance, the word manufacturing appears. Automobile manufacturing has one zoning. Automobile retailing has yet another. Automobile parts, yet another. The word manufacturing does not appear in the area for concrete. It's all lumped into one, and the idea that manufacturing of concrete would have the same zoning classification as some little landscaper selling concrete bird baths is obviously absurd. And you folks in your wisdom recognized that error in the present zoning ordinance a few weeks ago when you charged the planning staff and planning commission to address that issue and propose a fix. And that process is taking place. Just last week, the planning commission recommended that concrete manufacturing be allowed only by right in an I-3 zone and be a conditional use in I-2. And that matter passed with one dissenting vote, and that is coming up through the process and will be before you in a few weeks or so. And so and you asked for that to happen, and I asked you to wait for that legislation to come before you and to pass it before dealing with this issue, because as I say, there may be a map error, but there is certainly an error in your zoning ordinance, which you recognized when you started this process a few weeks ago to get it fixed. And the point's been made that there may be a lawsuit whichever way you jump tonight. And I would ask you to consider whether you'd rather be sued by one person from West Memphis and another person trying to make a real estate deal, where the real estate deal will result in something happening to this community that there's been no representation this concrete plant will better our community. They wouldn't be so bold as to suggest that. About all they've said is that it's no worse than what's already out there. And that's not much of a positive statement to make. And they're offering us some low-level employment and a few jobs out there. Now that's one group that may indeed sue over this. The lawsuit on the other side may very well involve several hundred longtime residents of this community that live in a nice view subdivision overlooking this site. And they'll doubtless be joined by a real estate developer from an old family in the community, the Witkowskis, brother-in-law John Wright, who want to build some nice homes up there with nice views. They've already started their subdivision and don't want their new lots looking down on more blight than's already there. You got Matt Chandler and his family that have a wonderful piece of property fronting on newly widened Crystal Hill Road at the 430 interchange. You can drive up and down Interstate 430 from one end to the other. Nowhere except in North Little Rock is there industrial blight at an I-430 intersection. Every single intersection of 430 on the Little Rock side of the river is growing and becoming an area of pride to the city. We've got a blighted area. We need to clean it up and not make it worse. The Chandler property offers the prospect. I know that family will do a fine job of developing their property. They got a piece there that could be a real nice shopping center. High dollar real estate taxes paid to this community. And they don't deserve to have a second concrete plant put at the rear of their property. Other people in the group include the people who have bought in the North Shore Business Park and have brought you millions of dollars, a new tax base, and nice high-paying jobs. And I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm patting the people on the back who've had the wisdom to locate in a nice business park in North Little Rock. And they don't want this here. You got a hospital there that has, in just a few months that it's been open, is needing to expand. And they're talking about building a doctor's office building in conjunction with it. I've got a recent sale to another statewide trade association office that's building in North Shore Business Park. You got a school. You got a rehab center. You got the offices of one of our highway commissioners located in the business park. And most recently, North Little Rock has been complimented by the ADEQs represented here tonight, choosing North Little Rock for the site of its state headquarters. They're going to build a 5 to 7 story LEEDs qualified. That's a fully green building, environmentally conscious green building. It'll be the finest example of that type of architecture in the state of Arkansas. And they don't want to be looking down on this concrete plant from their upper stories. If they had come to this community before buying this property and said, we will locate our headquarters here if you'd have done most anything they'd asked you to do, and that would have included vowing to clean up Young Road instead of making it worse. I've been a member of this business community for 40 years. I've been on the Chamber of Commerce. Every mayor's administration since I was a kid has wanted to land a state office building for a state agency in this community. And every governor during that period has said, no, Little Rock is the seat of state government, and Little Rock is where our state offices are going to be. But this governor and the head of this agency went against that and are locating this fine facility in North Shore Business Park. And I think it's a slap in the face to place a concrete plant right in their view. So I ask you, if there's going to be a suit on either side, wouldn't you rather be sued by 2 people trying to make a real estate deal than 200 people who are trying to better your community? Everybody on the other side is working to improve this community. give you a greater tax base, bring nicer things to your only intersection of Interstate 430. I plead with you, don't push this piece of legislation through tonight, but wait until the legislation you asked for, coming from the Planning Commission, correcting the equally or more grievous error in your zoning classification ordinance, gets here before your board. Thank you for your consideration.
Any other Alderman? On the question?
Gibson.
Is the legislation called?
It's been read 3 times.
Okay. Sponsor wants to call. Gibson votes no.
Bryant.
No.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
I'm going to pass.
Barry.
No.
Parker.
I'll abstain also.
Height.
No.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Legislation is held. Next item. Ordinance 0572, Alderman Gibson.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance amending ordinance number 7697 regarding concrete plants. First reading.
I'd like to, at this point, amend in the copy that's laid on your desk. It's what the Planning Commission passed at this last meeting. I'd like to amend that in as the new copy, along with the uses that they approved Tuesday night.
Second.
On the amendment?
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Is this the one that does?
Main-
Yeah, I don't know the condition. I just want the plan.
Well, let's get this on there. and amend
You got to
it back
amend this
down.
in.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to ask for a public hearing on this piece of legislation at 7:05 at the next council meeting, and we can take amendments to, I need to get this on the table. This is what the Planning Commission passed. I know there was, and agreeing with you, Mr. Bryant, there's a lot of discussion between myself and the chairman of that commission, also from several members, of whether you would allow a conditional concrete batch plan or not. And if this body chooses to change that to from a conditional to a and take it out, that's the decision of this board.
Yeah, my feeling is that why add another condition to what we're going to have to listen to again? I know that doesn't make much sense, but let's take the conditional out and just make it a flat ordinance where the concrete plants can be and eliminate any conditions to where they can be someplace else.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment to the city council, make you aware of something that I inquired about some time ago, and trust me, I'm not for or against concrete plants. However, all of the concrete plants in the city of North Little Rock, with the exception of the Southern Star, are zoned I-2 currently.
Mr. Boyles, the Razorback concrete plant that's built on the east side of North Little Rock is in a I-3, I believe, on Eanes Road.
I know the asphalt plant is I-3 and concrete.
Concrete plant's built right beside it. So.
I requested from the Planning Commission a review of all the current concrete plants in the city of North Little Rock, and they reported to me that they were all in the I-2 zone.
I got the facts also. But we did two things on Mr. Cranford's property out east, is that we required him to build a road and maintain it. And I thought it was an I-3 piece of property. Okay. This one's not on your list either. The Razorback plant that's out east is not on the list that got faxed to you.
May not be. The list that I received, though.
Oh, I understand. I got the same list. And I will remind you, it reminds me of a story I heard probably 30 years ago when Barbara Streisand was being interviewed by Barbara Walters on the Today Show. And she said, well, Miss Streisand, you're going to Hollywood to make your first movie, and you're taking with you a young man who's not ever even produced a movie, but has never been to Hollywood. And so Miss Streisand looked at straight in the eye and says, just because it had never been done before doesn't make it wrong. I'll paraphrase it the other way. Just because we've always put used car lots on any piece of property we can have in North Little Rock, I think it's time for that to change. I think it's time for us to change where we put salvage yards in the city. Even though they're not allowed, they seem to keep popping up. They pop up at the back of a used car lot. We have an opportunity to clean up the city. Parts of the city have cleaned up. We vigorously work on JFK every week to get the person parks a junk car out on the street, code immediately gets called. All up and down through the Main Street area. But we've got parts of the city that if we don't do something to turn them around pretty quick, and that includes having too many people living in a house, drive by and you got a house that's a 50-foot lot, and you got 6 cars parked from the street right up to the front door. Purely against the law. And we've got to find a way to clean up the city. If it means changing some things that we've always done, it just means we need to start doing that. This thing, we talk a lot about what we need to do. We spent a ton of money redoing Pike Avenue. Pike Avenue is cleaner now. We've not got the business park we need to have out there, but it's at least cleaned up. Hopefully this will happen with East Broadway. I have to applaud Mr. Witcher with his sign ordinances that we're not going to have 15 zillion signs of all kind of fractions out there done. And hopefully it will be the same thing on Camp Robinson if we go further out. We started we talked about all the development in downtown North Little Rock, but if this council in 1983 hadn't said there will be no more commercial encroachment on the other side of Maple Street, one day it's going to turn around. One day took 10 years, but it's turned around. It's now one of the safest places in the city to live and has some of the fastest growing property values. We have an opportunity to make some changes in North Little Rock. And it's up to us to try to work through that. Yes, we made mistakes in the past. I'll not question that at all. But let's try to work forward to make it a better place to live.
With that, do you want to?
Oh, I called for a public hearing. I'm holding the legislature. Sorry about my soapbox.
Well, I was going to say, I thought the mayor did all that talking, but
he's not here tonight.
Take a 10 minutes for the mayor.
I'd like to respond to Alderman Gibson's comments briefly. I in no way think that anything that policies that's been adopted in the past are necessarily what's in the best interest of the city of North Little Rock, and I'm all for change. I highly endorse your recommendations for that change. I was merely pointing out a matter of fact.
And you're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. Now, I have one other question, and I'm going to ask the city attorney, and maybe even planning. I'll ask the planning, but have we ever made this is an island out there. And this island was the subject, I think, of 3 items on the Planning Commission meeting. One was another to allow someone to bring in a house trailer out there. Maybe I'm in the wrong area. But isn't this area out there off of Young Road, isn't that an island?
Yes, that is.
Why have we never made an effort to bring it into the city?
One of the aldermen could direct us to write a legal description to do that. You have some vacant land, you have land that you'll have to maintain. Some areas, we have a lot of pockets in the city, especially on the east side. Some you need to bring in a service station and a bank, and those are obvious pockets that need to be brought in. These larger, more rural areas, we're a little less rapid to bring those in. Out Faulkner Lake Road, through the swamp, we're not wanting to bring that in because we take on the maintenance responsibility of a road through a swamp. So there are a lot of reasons for not bringing in certain property that we take on the maintenance responsibility.
I understand not bringing in a swamp out there because nobody's going to live in that swamp, nobody's going to build anything in that swamp. It's a different deal on the western side of the city.
We certainly can do that.
And I'd like to ask the 2 aldermen that to at least review that and bring us a recommendation at some point.
A pocket you can vote in.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what I would like also, if you might, get the entire council a kind of picture of the pockets of annexation that we have on our outside. Well, I know we have some east too.
Yeah.
So, might get a copy of that for all of us and send it out to us.
Okay. Are we talking about pocket as in the cell tower issue that's going to be coming up here in a minute? Or maybe not coming up tonight, but the area just adjacent there to Nice and Columbus?
That's another.
If that isn't a
large
pocket, I don't know what
Yes,
is.
That's a pocket.
If it's surrounded by the city
Right.
already, it's a pocket.
Now, that one
One
has-
piece of property.
has fireworks manufacturing that some people didn't want to bring in because that was, might require them to relocate outside the city. So there are different reasons for not bringing in pockets.
But we can force the issue by
Council
incorporating
vote
these areas.
brings it in, and the city council vote to bring in a pocket.
All right.
Ordinance 0576, Mayor Hayes.
I'm off my soapbox
I'd like to hold that, please.
New business, Resolution 05155, Mayor Hayes.
But Mayor, I know we haven't been in session very long, but there's a lot of folks that were here for 0571. We can give them an opportunity to leave. If we take a short break.
Yeah, take a 5-minute recess.
Sorry I got on the soapbox, John.
That's okay, brother.
We agree.
I can preach right along with you, brother.
We agree with you.
Just-
5-155.
I'd like to set a public hearing for that at next council meeting. That's which one? 150 R05 155. When's the day of the next council?
Actually, this meeting, if my notes are correct, it's my advice at this time you have a public hearing. And the basis of the public hearing will be on the Exhibit A, all of the properties that are listed. All of the owners have been given notice, and they should be given an opportunity whether or not to dispute the lien. And what that would mean is, say, for instance, the first one, Tressie Bennett, Lot 13, Block 16, Spring Hill Edition. They should be given the opportunity to dispute whether or not that lien amount is accurate, if they're here.
Okay.
So do we need to call each piece of property individually?
I just think you can have a public hearing and say anybody who wishes to speak on any property would be fine.
We need to read it. We need to read it first.
Okay.
A resolution approving amounts of liens to be certified to the Pulaski County Tax Collector against certain real properties as a result of grass cutting expenses and abatement of other nuisances by the City of North Little Rock.
I now adjourn a public hearing for convene a public hearing for R05 155. Anyone that wishes to speak toward this legislation? None appearing. Convenient. On the question. Huh?
Move for adoption of the
Second.
resolution.
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson. Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
Resolution 05-156, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution appropriating a one-time payment of $357,200 from the 2005 General Fund to provide monies to Pulaski County for the 2006 operations of the Pulaski County Regional Detention Facility.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Question?
I guess I have one question now. Does it mean all of the other entities will pay their share before we do ours, or will we give ours and hope they pay theirs?
It's all or none, I understand from the discussion with the county judge.
Well, should we say something in legislation that is
Well-
dependent upon everybody else paying their share?
The mayor told me that today when I visited with him, that we're not paying ours. We're appropriating the money, but we're authorizing the mayor to make the payment. If they don't get the others' agreements, we don't make any payment.
Well, as I'm disappointed in the county for whatever reason that we have to come up with $357,200 to support the jail. I really don't understand what's going on within county government to come up with this shortfall. But it's extremely disappointing to me that the citizens of North Little Rock are going to have to pay, and the citizens of the other entities are going to have to pay this money to keep the jail open, when a year ago we budgeted the money for the county, or it was identified by the county as to how they were going to operate their facility, and to come up this short this time of the year is really disappointing. That's all I have to say.
Is the chief here? Is the chief here?
He's here somewhere. He's coming.
There's not a council meeting that doesn't go by that I don't learn something new. All right, last council meeting I asked you who made the decision about who is released from the county jail, and you told me it was the head jailer over there.
Is that a question?
Yes, yeah, right.
Okay. Let me, so that there's no misunderstanding, the people that we arrest and bring in, most of them, all of the misdemeanors and some of the felons are released before they ever go to jail. Okay?
And they're released for what reason?
Because there's no space in the
No
jail
space.
to hold them.
This is from the county has told you they cannot accept any more
Right.
prisoners.
Right. So I mean, we're
You have no decision. You have no decision, no position. You're officers, and they arrest somebody, and they bring them in to take to the county jail. You have no option but to release them.
Right. There's no place to put them. Now they are taking those that are arrested for the most violent crimes: murder, rape, robbery, kidnapping, those sorts of things, they are making space for those now. So the decision is made before those people ever get into jail, so they're really never put in jail. They're cited and released if they're booked in.
Unless they're one of those hardened, more violent crimes.
Correct. Now, the ones that are already in the county jail, it gets a little more complicated because once they appear before a judge, it's the sheriff's position that he then doesn't have the authority to release them, and the judges are sometimes hesitant to release them, so they have to do some negotiating with the judges to try to make space so that they have space to at least be able to take our violent ones in.
Okay, so then we really have some say-so in as to who they release that are already in jail. Is that correct?
No, we do not.
We do not. But they're going to. The first person that is released over there would be one of a lesser crime, correct? If they're there.
That would be their decision, but yes, that's...
To make room for a more violent crime.
Yes.
Committed.
Well, did you not say last time, though, Chief, that if you felt like somebody needed to go in, you would go over there and lobby for that if it was...
Yeah, and that's those, and they're taking those violent criminals. Now, there's no point in me trying to lobby and get someone that's breaking into cars and that sort of thing locked up because it's just not real. I mean, there's no space for them. But those that are charged with violent crimes, felonies, are getting locked up. Now, we've started because the jail's been closed for so long now. Even those that are arrested for domestic battery are not being held. Like in the past, the judges had wanted them held until they appeared in court, but there's no space for them. And so now, I mean, the ones we catch breaking into your cars, and in many cases, even those breaking into your houses, are getting brought in, fingerprinted, processed, and released on a ticket.
So this $357,000 is based on utilization from the city of North Little Rock. That's more or less a percentage of the availability over there at a dollar amount.
Mr. Sisson can probably address that better than I, but I think that was based on either a population breakdown or a jail population breakdown, as I recall. It was the arrest, based on percentage breakdown of the arrest.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess I need to ask the chief, but it's my understanding that the county does not have the funds. They're already releasing a lot of employees, so I'm not so sure what we are doing if they can't match their part of it.
Well, again, and I agree with you. I'm not sure what the status is, and I think Mr. Gibson was correct. I think that the mayor continues to negotiate with them, and it's my understanding that unless they can come up with their portion of the money to keep 960 beds open, then it was my understanding that he doesn't intend to give them the money. But he needed that option, and if they were able to come up with that, my understanding was from discussion with Mayor Hayes and reading the newspapers that the county had to have the money immediately because of cash flow if they were going to do it. But they are already laying off people.
A number of people. Yes, but I believe this 960 is still, means they will still close. What's the total, 13?
At one time it was close to 13. For the last year, 2 years, it's been about 1,100. They are down, last count I had, down around 900 and headed to 800.
So, I mean, they've got the facility to have close to 1,300 people there. The problem is they don't have the financial resources to hire the guards to put them there. And I question the numbers for some time. They count our total arrest, but I told the mayor, I still dispute their number, but we can argue about numbers later on. We need to try to get some bids over there so that we can keep the people, or at least most of the people, locked up that need to be locked up. Because I would imagine if you turn them loose, their failures to appear without a bond is not very good.
I had an email last week that reported from the criminal court, our district court. They had a record fail to appear. I think there was 29 fails to appear that day in court. And it's really a vicious circle. And it's somewhat frustrating, I have to admit, to the officers out there because they arrest somebody, maybe they broke into your car, whatever, they write them a ticket, they let them go, They don't show up in court, the judge issues a warrant for them, and you find them again, you arrest them, you bring them in, you write them another ticket, let them go, and it's just a circle. I mean, it just goes on, and I know and I understand what you're saying about the money, and I think there's some disagreement at the county. I understand that Judge Valines has told Mayor Hayes that possibly they could keep 960 beds open with an additional $1 million, but the position of the sheriff's office is that $1 million will only buy 80 beds. And I don't know, it'd be my recommendation to the mayor that 80 beds is not worth $1 million. And because between 800 and 880, we couldn't tell the difference. I mean, the jail's been closed for weeks, and there's no hope for it opening. I'm getting ready to assign 5 officers to work the booking center full time. So they're coming off of street assignments, going full time to the lockup.
Well, Chief, I'd like to compliment you and the police department for the difficult time that we're going through, and the morale of those officers needs to be bolstered in some way, and I think the council unanimously supports them and through this situation. And if this, as we've already said, if this $357,000 doesn't do what we want to do, we don't need to do it, and that's just going to put more pressure on you and your officers. But I, as one, truly appreciate, and I think the whole council does, what your officers are doing and what they're dealing with right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I hear you.
There is a motion and second.
Here's a motion second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Caveat to 156 is, Alderman, if you care, I guess at the end of your agenda, if you want to have a voice vote to reaffirm that this money will be spent, if it's spent the right way.
Well, the ordinance itself is to have 962,000 beds.
Yeah.
It's in the one piece
It's in
of
it.
legislation.
It's in.
So
Okay.
if they don't get us to 960 beds, we don't send the money.
Right. Next one.
Resolution 05-157, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a release of lien on certain property located at 1620 Chandler Street in the city of North Little Rock.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any questions?
This gives us a good opportunity to get a piece of junk property with a new house built on it.
Right.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0580, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance accepting the annexation of lands commonly described as lands to be titled the Wilcox Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making Wilcox Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. First reading.
I'd like to move this suspended, placed on second reading.
Is there a second to that? I know the question. On the question.
Gibson?
They do have that. Meets the same requirements for the water lines being the 8-inch lines.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
This is NCAW territory.
So it is in Central Arkansas water? It's not the
Is
prairie?
that part of the area that we bought then? When we bought
It's
Willow Beach?
West of Willow Beach. This is Willow Beach here.
Yeah.
And the line before was set around 391.
Okay.
This is NCAW. There's
So
a
it's-
water line of adequate size across
Okay, that's all I was cared
down
about.
165.
That's what I was concerned about.
Alderwoman Robinson.
Well, I have a couple of questions about this property, Robert, about the annexation. First of all, I know that homes are being built out there in this area, and I guess my first question, this may have been taken care of already. Our planning commission have reviewed the plats and everything for this property that's coming in, especially for these homes that are being built out there.
We have just reviewed a large plat that was submitted. Probably get the number of homes, but it's something around 400 homes. They're asking, and you'll be seeing a rezoning probably the next council meeting, if it's not on this one. but they're asking for a rezone for some commercial along the highway with all the rest remaining residential.
Okay. Now, my second question, I know that there is one subdivision there that will be named Ashley Downs, if I'm correct, and it's going to be a gated community, and they're going to have horses.
Yes.
So when we annex Ashley Downs into the city, we're going to annex the livestock as well.
Your
I'm
municipal
asking.
code allows horses in the city,
Mhm.
1 per acre for the pasture, and this is a theme community that they're planning. It will have private streets, so they'll maintain their own streets. It will be gated. It'll have large pastures and community riding. So that's the theme of this subdivision.
Okay.
That's down Colonel Maynard near Upper Steel Bend Road.
Okay, and they're gonna take care of the streets. We won't have to go in and do any of the infrastructure.
That's correct.
They're gonna take care of all of that.
That's the proposal.
And you want to annex their horses?
Robert?
Well,
I got a question.
I just knew that, and
I hope my granddaughter's not listening there. We are allowed to have one horse per acre?
You have to have an acre of pasture per animal, and horses and cows are still allowed inside. the
Julie,
city.
I hope Bailey's not watching. God.
So we can now have horses. Do you have a spare acre?
so they'll have an acre out
That
there.
has been on the list for a long time.
Alderman?
Is that the property that's, Robert?
Sir?
Is that the property that's south of Colonel Maynard Road and east of Upper Steel Bend Road?
It's north of Upper Steel Bend and east
Okay.
of
Of Colonel Maynard, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a proposed annexation.
Huh.
I mean, it's been approved by the county, subject to a correction in the legal description, and it'll be coming to you for consideration. I'm trying to get a verification of the water pressure in the lines. There's a large water tower that Grand Prairie is installed near there, so we think there'll be pressure to fight fires to our standards, but we haven't truly verified that.
Are we going to be required to do any maintenance to Colonel Maynard Road?
Yes. Colonel Maynard will become a city street.
So will we have to put stripe a bike path along the side of it if we do so? Good, thank you.
Ms. Whitley?
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
I can move that rules suspended and place on third reading.
Second.
She has to read it the second time.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're a little fast.
This is an ordinance accepting the annexation of lands commonly described as lands to be titled the Wilcox Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making Wilcox Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. Second reading.
Now I'll move that rules be suspended and place on third reading.
And now I second.
Other questions?
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
This is an ordinance accepting the annexation of lands commonly described as lands to be titled the Wilcox Annexation to the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas, and making Wilcox Annexation a part of the City of North Little Rock. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher. Ordinance 0581, Mayor Hayes.
Call it, please. Sorry.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain school properties in the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas from their present various zoning classifications to O1 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on
Second.
second reading.
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain school properties in the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas from their present various zoning classifications to O1 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the City of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on its third reading.
Second.
Gibson.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
And Witcher.
Yes.
This is
Question,
a,
Alderman?
Before we go to the third reading here, I'd like to ask
Robert, if you would explain to us what this O1 classification means, and is it anything other than school properties?
This is only school properties. Schools across the city are zoned a variety of things, R1 and R3 primarily. Schools you took out in '84, and in the new zoning ordinance, we had the O1 as public facilities and open space. So O1 is the general catch-all for government or school properties. The schools are considering some changes, some major changes in the future, and we discussed this and thought it would be better to clean up the zoning map and classify them as the zoning ordinance calls them, the O1 classification, and that's all we're dealing with today.
So O1 includes, in addition to schools, government properties, and what else?
It's open. It could be parks, public lands, public facilities, and public buildings. So,
well, I just noticed that Big Rock Masonic Lodge is zoned O1 next to the Parkview Elementary School, and I was just curious if there was some reason for that. Doesn't bother me on the zoning map, but just wondered what restrictions or requirements.
which letter is that one? We have the letters.
It's a zoning map.
Which exhibit?
Which one?
1323Q.
Q. And your question is, why is that property zoned
Why is the
O1?
property on the corner zoned O1? It doesn't fall into any of those things that you just mentioned.
No, because it already was. It's already O1.
Kinda like an I-2
for
thing?
some reason. But it probably was city property and sold for the Masonic Lodge, but I don't have a clue why.
It's already zoned O1, right? It's not in this.
That's right. It's not in the subject for tonight. It's just a property that had been zoned O1.
Coincidentally, so, okay.
Mr. Parker, back in '84, was that when it was, Robert?
Yeah.
We had a controversy that rose over schools, public, private, otherwise, and in our infinite wisdom, I think we put them into R6 or something like that, but we made every single school in the city non-conforming. One night, 21 years ago.
You were here.
I was here. Mr. Thomas and I were here, and I remember exactly why we did it. We did it. I'll let someone else report on that. But I remember exactly why we did it, and it would seem to be the right thing to do at the time, and it probably was. And except what we didn't realize, that every time that a school wanted to make any change, they had to go through all kind of hoops to do it because they were non-conforming use. And this corrects this. And they've only been asking for this for 20 of those 21 years.
Well, I think schools deserve their own zoning.
That's what we said back then. That's what we did. We just created I think it was R6, and it was over a daycare / school that was going to go across or right in the middle of a proper neighborhood, and it's one of those things that we changed for the betterment of the community.
Third and final reading.
Are you ready to have it read the third time?
Yes, ma'am.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain school properties in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from their present various zoning classifications to O1 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0582, Alderman Thomas.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from R3 to C4 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the city of North Little Rock. First reading.
Mr. Mayor, I need to amend it. It has been before the Planning Commission. Time was of the essence to reasonably file this, and I'd like to read the amendment that I have here, if I could, please.
Okay, go ahead.
As you're reading through the whereas clause, it says which application has, and then mark out not, been considered, and and approved by the Norfolk Planning Commission at a regular meeting thereof on November the 8th, 2005. So that would be it has been approved, it has been before the Planning Commission, it's been considered, and it was their approval of the
So you're just striking not from the first whereas? Is that correct?
As you read from it, has been the herein described land which application has, now mark out not.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
So it has been considered
And approved.
by the
point of
North
order.
Little Planning Commission.
I think we need to read it before we amend it.
Okay.
Want to read it one time?
Yeah, before
She
We
did.
didn't read it once.
She's read it. There's no motions pending, but she has read it.
Okay.
you read it.
There's no
Okay.
motions pending.
I'll second his amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, only in the whereas is where it is, because
And I have a question on the amendment.
Okay.
Why did we do it if we did that?
Do you know what the vote was at the planning commission?
It was something like 7-2 or something like that.
I believe it was 7-1. I didn't bring the vote count, but it was pretty close to unanimous vote.
Okay.
Was there any opposition?
No, this is an existing fence company. They built a building behind their sales office without a permit, and we contacted them and found it was R3. So we told them they'd have to rezone the property. And they've been there for about 20 years.
As a fence company?
About 35 years.
Just operating this building, out of this building. But, now they're expanding, so, we noted that we can't approve a permit without the rezoning.
And they're
So
gonna-
And they're expanding in,
on that same property, just behind the building. He's
are
at
they
the
expanding their
shop.
fence company?
Yes, it's for the company that's there.
The fence company?
Yes, sir.
They're expanding their fence operations.
They're adding a building for that company.
But they're doing the same thing they've been doing for 30
It's
years.
not
And let me say this, as Alderman Gibson mentioned a while ago, they were surprised to learn they're in a residential area. They've been there all these years, and they were surprised, like he mentioned in the 01 for the schools. Every time that, any time that they made any kind of change, they'd have to go through the hoops, as he mentioned, and it was the Planning Commission's thought, since across the street we unanimously approved the change of that classification there to, and so I thought it was only right that we give them the same. I think the Planning Commission and all 8 of us voted for the change to the C4.
And it's going to be a fence company and not a used car lot
At this time, it'll be that same company.
at this time.
That's correct. Now, he did come in with 2 other parcels that adjoined it, and the Planning Commission voted that down because he had no plans to expand.
He withdrew that.
Speculative zoning, and so he withdrew that. And we're only talking about this one parcel.
On the amendment.
Okay, so Alderman Thomas made the motion. Gibson, you seconded the amendment motion. Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
It's going to be a fence company and not a car lot.
Just like it is now.
It doesn't say it's going to be.
Is the applicant here?
I'm just a little nervous because sometimes once it's zoned, they kind of put in there what they
Please
want.
say your name when you come to the microphone.
Yeah, my name's Dennis Fisk. What I was going to say, it's a fence company, been a fence company for years and years, Actually, a fence company, you would think, would build chain link fence and they'd have rows of wires, trailer loads of wire, everywhere you looked, or trailer loads of pickets, for privacy fence and that type of thing. That's not our line of business the last probably 9 or 10 years. All we do basically is gated communities. We do gate operators, telephone entry systems to these apartment complexes and stuff like that. Basically, we probably got about 80% of our business is outside, out in areas, Chenal places out through the woods where we're gating these communities. 20% of it is probably going to be done around the shop there. But as far as a fence company, we still are, we call her Quality Fence and Construction Company because that's what we started at, 17, whatever it was we incorporated years ago. But Actually, as far as having stuff on hand, it's just not there, and like I said, mainly, probably 80% of the work we do is out in the field and, stuff like that, but we do need to grow a little bit before we get our shop, get a little bit more room and that type of thing, but that's kind of where we're going.
Okay, so what we're doing, we're approving the zoning for the building that they've already built. Is that basically what we're doing?
Right, basically, that's
Why did we issue a permit to them to build the building?
Well,
we went ahead and built the building without getting a permit. Is that what I understand?
It's not built.
It's not built, we was just we was in the process.
But why does it say applicant has built a commercial structure without a permit?
Well, like Robert Boyle said, we started building it, and we got, they found out, and they busted me out.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand. I mean, I'm fine with it, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to understand.
Something I did want to say is, like Alderman Thomas was saying, I've been around there for probably close to 35 years, but I didn't never realize it's been, that property where my office is at now, it's been, some everything, and I just didn't realize, what it was. Bought it and still didn't know.
The question I have, and I guess, Mr. Boyles, I need to kind of get an understanding. In one of these, we're going to rezone it from R3 to C4, and then in the second one, we're going to allow an ironworks in a C3 zone.
Well, we had some welding, but we were.
So why don't we make the whole thing C3?
Well, we're going to make the whole thing C3 and drop 83, the special permit, and just say that's a function of this business.
So we would take the first one, which would be 0582, and change that to be C3?
No, C4.
C4.
He's a C4 type of use. He does welding
So,
to make these gates.
so that means that he's bordering R3 on the back and on the east side. So that means he's going to have to buffer it with a 6-foot fence all the way around.
He does all
We've
that
got
property.
privacy fence.
You got a privacy fence around both of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we live in we built the house right behind this property. We've lived there since '78. So,
But we were assuming if you approved the rezone to C4, it wouldn't be necessary to do the special use.
And he would not be willing to accept C3 on the whole property and allow a welding shop to be there.
I think he would. Planning Commission just
Well,
said
it's
it
what
did.
happens, the entire rest of that side of the street is C3.
These should be all the same.
I mean, your neighbors here, the neighbors across the street here are all C3. The park down here, yes, you've got some C4 across the street, you also got some C3 and R3 across the street.
Well, then the question is, would his business fit in a C3 zone?
Is that we give him C3 and then allow him to continue his operation there.
Well, I think he'll go for that. I think
Certainly we go along with it.
And I think that's the best thing. It keeps that compatible use on that side the same.
Are you offering that as an amendment?
Yes.
I'm going to make sure that the gentleman's okay with it.
Okay.
he just wants to do what he's been doing all these
And he
years.
could do that with C3 and then special use in his welding shop and his fence company and just continue going on.
I'd go along with that. I'd be fine with me as long as I can.
You
Continue
can,
with
you
what
can.
I'm-
So let's amend this, but change this.
Well, wait, you're in the middle of your vote on the first
Oh,
one.
excuse me. I'm sorry, Miss Whitney.
We need to finish that vote,
We'll do that.
don't we? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Now they're going to do the amendment.
Now, I'd like to
Now
change
Why don't we
it.
just, how about the third one? I mean, go to the next ordinance then.
No, we could get past this one first.
Okay.
No, because you got, what you're
Well,
going
we'll
to
have
do with
to
the next
amend-
one is
you'll have to
allow
amend-
him to do everything he does in a
Right there,
C3.
C3.
So we need to
Okay.
change this one to C3. So, I'm sorry, can we amend it now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everywhere in 0582, it says C4, change that to C3.
I'll second that.
That keeps everything on that side of the street the same.
Thomas, you okay with
Yeah, if he is, I'm just trying to help him, and I think because he's been there all these years, and he's got a very clean operation, and
I agree.
and he wants to continue it. So
Continue.
On the amendment?
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
yes,
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now, there are no motions pending at this point. It's
Okay,
been
now we
read
go to
one
third
time.
reading.
It's been read one time.
I move to suspend the rules and place it on its second reading. Excuse me.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from R3 to C3 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the city of North Little Rock. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place it on its third reading.
Second.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Now, does that, I want to make sure that allows him the welding shop to...
We will when we get through it. Now, where are we?
It
We're
needs
in
to
the
be
third
read the
floor.
third time now.
Okay.
This is an ordinance to reclassify certain property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas from R3 to C3 classification by amending ordinance number 7697 of the city of North Little Rock. Third and final reading.
On the question.
Okay, that's as amended. Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0583, Alderman Thomas.
Well, that, I think that take care of that.
We need to call three.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call that one too then.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a welding shop in the C4 zone for certain real property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock. First reading.
We need to change to C3.
We got to change two things. In the first whereas, you got to do the same wording as you did in the previous.
That's right.
And then you got to change all the C4s to C3s.
Second.
On the amendment.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance allowing...
Wait, is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me.
Okay, Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a welding shop in the C3 zone for certain real property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock. Second reading.
I move for adoption of the ordinance.
Is that, have we read it three times?
This is the second reading, and we need
Move
to
to suspend the
second.
rules and place it on third.
Okay.
Second.
Sorry about that.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance allowing a special use for a welding shop in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 5010 East Broadway Street in the city of North Little Rock. Third and final reading.
Now you can call the question again.
On the question,
On the
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
That concludes new business.
Got,
I've got.
we've got an announcement, one announcement, and then we'll go to all.
Comment.
I've been asked by Margaret Powell via Clerk Whitby to make the following announcement. It's time for Hometown Holiday Concert in North Little Rock. The annual tradition of beautiful holiday music for the whole family played by the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra at the North Little Rock East High School Auditorium. That's going to be Friday night, December the 2nd at 6:30 p.m. the Children's Fair, and at 7:30 p.m. the concert. All families and the children are welcome. There are going to be photos with Santa be made by Bedford Camera and Video, which are free, and the Mayor's Youth Council will sponsor Christmas-related art activities 1 hour before the concert. So that's Friday night, December the 2nd at the North Little Rock East High School campus. Tickets can be purchased at North Little Rock City Clerk's office, 300 Main, or by calling 340-5319. And they're a bargain. Adults are $15, seniors are $10. Adults, $5.
Thank you, Alderman.
Students, $5.
I guess my question is for Paul Susky.
Seniors.
Paul, as you know, for the past year, we've had a resident from Rose City to come up to the mic to talk about the manufactured home on Boyer. I have some concerns because there was an agreement that was signed by the owner of the manufactured home, and I think he agreed to have something done by November 7th, and he agreed to have something else done by the 15th. Now, on the 7th of November, the veneer or the blocks or whatever is supposed to be was not in place. Now, you know, I think we've given this owner a lot of opportunities to come in compliance to our request. And at some point, you know, we as a city, we need to take a stand and show him that we mean business. So we need to do something about it.
Yes. Here's where we're at, and I have not been updated in the last week as to if there's been violation of the 7th. He obtained a building permit. He timely asked for an extension. It was up to the head of planning to grant that extension, and it was granted. And if any point in time he does not meet the conditions and terms of that extension, then at that point in time the building permit can be pulled and he has to stop. Then you get to the point of where are we at now? That if you get to the point it's sitting there, he's not doing any work, it would then be up to the city council. We could write him citations for violating the housing code, but obviously the city council, which I think would probably be in the best position, to institute condemnation proceedings and condemn it.
Mr. Chairman, the house is already jacked up. It would be a good time just to back up something to it and haul it off.
Yeah.
I was there today, Mr. Taylor. I go there religiously Yes. It'd be a great time. Just hook on to it and drag it.
Well, I've had people that's going to do it for me. But I told the chief of police that if that thing stayed there this winter, it'd probably burn. But I promised him that I would not be on that property because I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But on November the 7th, which was last Monday, these blocks, the concrete block, was supposed to have been in place. They come back out there today, which is the 14th, and they're laying another layer of block. That contract right there should be pulled right now. They're supposed to have the brick on it tomorrow, and they still lack about 75 or 80 foot of concrete block on the east and the south side. They cannot put them in there tomorrow and set that thing back down on it. And it's falling apart.
It's time that
siding is falling off there right now.
Oh, I know. It's time, I guess at some point, that we go ahead and code writes them a ticket. We condemn the piece of property, condemn the structure, and it's gone.
Well, let's condemn it tomorrow.
If he has a pending building permit, that you would be writing him a ticket when he has a permit to do that. I think the best remedy would be for the city council to condemn it, and basically it can be hauled off. To give you an example, if you may recall on Pike Avenue, about 1532 Pike, across the street there, we had those trailers. The city council condemned every one of those, and you know it's there today, empty lot.
Okay, Mr. Wadley?
Can we condemn it tonight?
Mr. Voles?
We
No,
can't condemn it.
you cannot condemn it tonight. You got to give them due process.
Mr. Voles,
give them a hearing
we will sponsor that legislation if it'd be.
He's in violation. Code could red tag it, and he has 30 days. But what does he have any time? I mean,
what you have to do is give him notice that the city council intends on condemning it, and you'll have a public hearing like we have all up before the city council.
I think that is a general
Tell us our
consensus
timetable,
from
I'm
the,
ready.
Okay.
from the
Code can start proceeding in that
council.
direction.
Okay.
He worked
that
2
we intend
months
to work that direction.
and wasted 10 months is the reason he's in the shape he's in right now.
I go by there every other Monday, just
Well,
on
we
purpose.
need to pull
Well,
it.
it's really dangerous right now, the way it's
Oh,
jacked
it
up.
is. I like the steps. They're hanging up
Well,
in the
yeah,
air.
it looks worse now than it has ever looked.
That was about 3 today I was by there.
So we ordering code to start the proceeding?
Yeah, it's just
I think the
administrative till you have the hearing before the city council.
Okay, do we need to pass anything at this time? Mr.
No.
Okay,
The only thing you need to worry about is when it comes to you, have a hearing and make your determination.
Okay.
Now, I do not know if it would be appropriate for planning to pull the permit at this time. I don't know.
I would think
I'd
so.
have to look at that. But I'll take a look at that and visit with Mr. Bowles.
The next question I was going to ask is the mayor and the city council, the planning, run the city of North Little Rock, or does John Grice run it?
I don't know John Grouse.
He's the one that owns this Morgan Affordable Building.
I'm ready for it
I
to be.
feel like the carpet has been laid out too long for him. Need to be rolled up.
So will they stop the work, like tomorrow when they go out and,
I-
will it stop him from working? I want him to just halt everything, just stop.
We'll take a look at it. Robert might be able to tell you where he's at and if he did violate.
Mr. Boyles, would you come here and visit with us for a few minutes?
On this, Mayor Hayes wanted me to get with the owner, get a firm list together, timetable, and him agree to certain time limits on this completion. What happened, Morgan was supposed to have put the building in for this owner, and they got in a dispute about how it was going to go in, and that's caused so much of the delay. I think Morgan is out of the picture, and the owner now has full responsibility to bring it into compliance. He signed that agreement. It was a short time limit, but it was reasonable, and he agreed to it. The blocks, they were laid, 2 courses were laid last week, and they were going to lay it on top of that. Apparently, I heard that it wouldn't work that way, and they had to do some more, but I don't see how they can have the bricks laid by tomorrow and meet our deadline.
So that means that the permit will be pulled tomorrow, and they'll be out of...
We'll notify him.
I am
that he's
requesting that
not
you pull it,
met our
because if he
timeline.
starts all over, if he were to start all over, he has to comply with the new build requirements of the city, which means it's got to face the street, which it doesn't. I mean, he's going to be better off pulling it out of there or us tearing it down.
Right. Any other alderman?
I've got a comment on some other issues. Do you want to?
No, I was just going to point out, I don't know if the citizens, our leaf vacuum resumes the 14th of November, Rose City, Profield Junction, south of I-40, and they'll work towards Midtown. They will also begin work in Bunker Hill and Lakewood. And I've got a bunch of leaves that need to be taken off my street, so it's encouraging to see that they were working, and we appreciate it. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Alderman?
Last Thursday evening, I attended a meeting of concerned citizens about this issue with our jail, or lack thereof. And they made a recommendation at our last council meeting, and I intend to support a resolution endorsing our commitment to resolving the problem. I'm just going to read you the lead line on this resolution, and this is not for tonight, but for our next meeting. Resolution expressing support, that's our support, for the formation of a task force to review the Pulaski County Jail operations, funding, and to make recommendations for long-term funding and operations of the Pulaski County Jail. Basically, what we're doing tonight with our approval of a $357,200 contribution is a Band-Aid fix for the year 2006. We have problems even with that, even if we were to get what we are asking for, 960 beds, it is inadequate. We've got a twofold problem, funding and operations of the jail. 960 beds is inadequate. We have released several hundred inmates because we don't have the finances to keep them incarcerated. There are alternatives to incarceration, but we, as a city council, are not in a position to determine what the various options might be. Someone, however, needs to look into this and come up with a recommendation. It is the responsibility of our Pulaski County Quorum Court judge to meet the financial needs of this facility, and it's our job, I believe, as council members to represent the needs of our constituents and make sure that we have a place where we can keep criminals off the street. And right now it is absolutely, in my opinion, out of control. We have as our chief said tonight, no place to put anyone that's arrested for anything other than the most heinous crimes, other than to release them. It is beyond belief that we have allowed our county to get into this situation. We've got some folks that are running for sheriff to replace our existing sheriff, and I don't know how many months that is down the road, but 14 months. We've got about 12 to 14 months to fix this problem. Right now we're band-aiding this thing. Even if $1 million is going to hold us over with 960 beds, if that be the outcome of our contribution, that's inadequate. That's inadequate in the long term. We need to, as this resolution will suggest, recommend that there is a task force appointed to look into the resolution of this problem. I don't have the answers, but I bet you I could come up with some, other than just turning a blind eye to it and ignoring it or passing the buck to someone else. There's ways to solve this problem, and it's twofold. We need a sheriff's department that can manage the resources at their disposal and keep as many of the people that need to be incarcerated in incarceration or some sort of rehabilitation type facilities and off the streets if that's what our judges have deemed necessary. And for us not to fund this is just inappropriate, in my opinion. We need to make a recommendation, a strong recommendation, and hopefully I will get all of your support at our next council meeting that the people responsible for finding a solution to this appoint a task force to do such. And I would welcome some of you to make some comments or to ask some questions concerning this particular problem, because I think it is I think we have a crisis on our hands, and I don't know why we're not approaching it as such. I cannot believe that we are absolutely letting people go that we've arrested because we have no place to put them. And we don't have a solution for it for another year, nor are we even looking for it. Anybody got any comments?
I'll make one because I agree with you, and I agree with you. You know, 23 years or change ago, when the day that I announced I was going to run for alderman, there's another historic event happened that same day. Tommy Robinson took 18 prisoners down to Tucker, chained them to the gate. Got reprimanded by the
governor.
Judge hired, reprimanded him for it. But what Tommy Robinson said then is still existence today, is that when the system clogs up, they stay in. We have people in the county jail who ought to be at Tucker or Cummins. Now that's part of the problem. That's only a small part of the problem, but that is part of the problem. You can convict somebody, but they're going to stay in the county jail because they can't send them on to the big jail. And that's number one problem. Number two problem is that we've got people in this county that don't think it's a county-wide problem. They think it's just basically a Little Rock and North Little Rock problem. And they're true to an extent because our North Little Rock Police Department has been real aggressive and has been for many years. They probably make 35 or 40% of the arrests in the city, in the county, and we're 19% of the population. But there's a couple reasons for that. We've got 16 or 18 miles of I-40 that runs through North Little Rock. They're not arresting people who are doing something bad in North Little Rock. They're getting stopped for something else, but they find that they've got an outstanding warrant from Ohio or Pennsylvania or somewhere else, and so they're hauling them down to jail. It's been going on for years. And there's no quick answer to it. The answer to it is the same one I said last December. We've got to find a way to get county sales tax, either additional sales tax or to get sales tax off of the top before we get it, so we all share in the cost of the jail. We don't share in 38% of it when we only have 19% of the population. And so, yes, I welcome the task force and I welcome the opportunity to visit with them. But we've got to get that money before the cities get it, and that's all the cities in the county, not just Little Rock and North Little Rock. Yes, Jacksonville and Sherwood have some holding facilities, and but that's only a small part of it. When they say that we make that many more arrests, I look at the amount of arrests that are done in the Sherwood check court, and that is a tremendous amount of arrests. For some reason, we don't count those when we count the total. We've got to find a way to get that money. If it's 1/4% that we have to come out and get, which will raise $17 million, which will put the 1,300 beds back in place, that may be the answer to it. I don't know that answer, but I agree with you. We've got to find an answer to it because, I mean, the person who breaks into your house today, or my house, or somebody else's, gets caught, taken down, he's back on the street. He's been arrested. He's most likely, if he had a job, he's going to lose it. So how is he going to sustain his life? He's going to go break into somebody else's house. And it's an endless deal. And I know the police have to be just frustrated with it. Have to be absolutely frustrated. I mean, I wonder sometimes, and I told this 3 young men who came up and talked to me at the break, is I don't know what some of these people do, because you can go into certain neighborhoods and there are people roaming everywhere all day long. They're obviously not working. And so maybe they're because for several reasons. I agree with you, John.
Our jail population was almost at 1,300 in Pulaski County, regardless of where they came from. And truth is, that's probably inadequate. We could probably fill a 2,000 bed jail if we're given the opportunity. If not a jail, at least some sort of correctional facility by which we could punish the offenders and keep them from offending further
off the
in society.
street. Get them off the street.
Whatever, whether we put them into work groups or whatever.
Off the street.
The management of the jail facility, I think, is entirely in the hands of our sheriff department. And they should make recommendations as to how they can more efficiently handle the greater number of detainees, people that need to be off the streets. I'm not trying to manage the sheriff's department tonight. I just simply think that we have a twofold problem. Management of the facility in the first place in its most efficient manner, and funding of that facility to the level that's necessary in order to adequately protect our citizens by keeping these people off the street. They're having a party when they turn them loose over there. They think it's a joke. Turn them loose so we can go out and do it again. The whole purpose in this thing tonight is to support as a group a resolution to find an answer. And we've got about a year to do it because we've just band-aided this thing to death tonight. We're contributing about $2 million as a municipality conglomerate toward a $22 million project. Now, I'm basing that on some of these estimates that I'm getting from the people in the know. $17 to $22 million is what the operational budget of the jail. Is that correct?
No.
It's $22 million right now.
And what is the city's contributing?
Right now, the county's putting out $19 million towards that $22 million.
And how much are the...
Why don't you come on up here? Let's know you.
My name's Herman Hutton, and I'm a sergeant with the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office right now over the narcotics unit, and I'm also one of the candidates, as Mr. Parker pointed out, for sheriff. Right now, the county jail expense is about $22 million. The county is putting out about $19.1 million toward that. And that's come at an expense to the county, as you all know. From the opening of the county jail in 1994 until this time period, we've seen an increase from $4 million up to $19 million of what the county is putting out to house those prisoners. Is the county jail adequate where it's at? No, sir, it's not. It's not. And there are alternatives to incarceration. We need to look at those, and we need to have a long-term plan. And County Jail Reform Now, which is the group of citizens that are here, are looking for those types of answers, are looking to get that task force in place to come up and to get you as elected officials and to get the county elected officials to sit down and come up with a plan that solves this once and for all. We need a plan in place that allows the funding of the jail.
And we need to share that tax burden. That tax burden, as you said, Mr. Gibson, needs to be shared throughout the whole county. No matter what municipality you live in, no matter whether you live in the unincorporated areas, whatever that case is. Because there are some alternatives, but we can't have any alternatives put in place until we fund that jail. And the jail at its current population, even at the almost 1,300 we were at, was not adequate. We still had outstanding warrants. We still had people that needed to be incarcerated, and we were still closed 25 to 30% of the time. So we need to get there. And it's up to all the elected officials, and it's up to the citizens here to come up with ideas on how that funding's done. Whether it's a sales tax increase, whether it's a reallocation of the current sales tax, whatever that case may be, we need to look at all that funding. And we also need to make sure that there is in place a way to educate, because I'm telling you folks, the reason we're here right now is the methamphetamine and the crack cocaine problem. That's why we're here. And it's killing our society, and we need to do something about it. And we're the people to do that. We're the elected officials out there and come up with solutions. We need results. And that's what this group is asking for. If you have
In 1994, the $22 million in 2004.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And no idea what the future cost is going to be.
No, sir. One of the problems that exists right now is they had allocated about $800,000 just for the health issues in the jail, and at last time that I heard, they had already spent $1.5 million. So that just tells you what methamphetamine and crack.
And that's directly related to the drug problems, the health
issues. That's exactly right, sir.
Thank you.
That's right. Thanks, Brian. But you know, the other issue here is that the county is about to fire 91 people. We're about to put 91 individuals out of a job. And those are people that are taxpayers, that are doing what they're supposed to do. And like the officers of the city of North Little Rock, every time that bell rang, every time someone called 911, those officers answered that bell. And I don't know if you know how difficult it is on a jail deputy, but those jail deputies are singly, by themselves, locked up in a pod with 80 plus prisoners, by themselves, with the only thing standing between them is an alarm button and a can of pepper spray. And so those are heroes in there. Those are people who are trying to do the service to the county and to the citizens of this county, and it's tough. It's tough looking those young people in the eyes and knowing that they're going to be fired real soon. But every one of them, to a man and to a woman, have been showing up for their job and doing their job right up until the day they're going to be fired, which is December 23rd. That's the kind of people we have working for us. They've been professional all the way through.
If our jail operation could be compared with a business, it would be like United Airlines. I mean, we're on the verge of bankruptcy. We have got to reinvent the way this is done. In 1990, I believe from the statistics I've heard, the county's portion of the 1 cent sales tax was something around 24-25%. Now it's down to 14 or 15.
That's correct, sir.
So the revenue that the county is generating from this 1 cent sales tax is practically half of what it once was. On the other hand, the city's contributions is the same. Is that correct? We're contributing no more today than we were in 1990, even though the cost of operation has gone from $4 to $22 million. I mean, there is a big discrepancy here, and the city of North Little Rock, and for the people that I represent, I don't think we want to turn these folks loose, whatever it takes. We've got to tighten the belt in other areas or reallocate the funds that we have without a tax increase, so let it be. But if we have to raise the tax, we have to do that at the expense of all other options failing. We have to try to do the best we can to manage what we have now at our discretion, both in revenue and expenses. It needs to be a twofold approach. Both the county sheriff's department needs to do the most efficient job of managing the resources that it has at its disposal, housing the greatest number of prisoners for the least amount of money.
That's correct.
Whatever it takes, and it's our responsibility as municipalities and as a county government to fund whatever is necessary to get it done and to find those resources. If we don't have it at our current level, then we are going to have to find a way. And all I'm asking for tonight is a unanimous consent at our next meeting to support a resolution to find that task force to find those answers to those problems.
You're going to bring that next council meeting, right?
Yes.
The resolution.
I want to tell you all that I think you all are being leaders here. I think you're stepping out in the forefront and even looking at this resolution. And that's what we need. We need people to be those leaders and to step out there. Because I think if you all sit down with the other city governments and you sit down with the quorum court, I believe that you can come up with a resolution that works for everybody.
Thank you.
Me also. Alderman?
Two things. One, on the leaf issue, don't put the leaves in the street. Put them in your yard. And another, the North Little Rock School District television department won considerable number of awards and are number one in the state. And I'd like to recognize those men and women of the North Little Rock School Department that are here every other Monday night and their work at the school district for those awards. Thank you.
Any other alderman? Public comment?
Good evening, gentlemen. Alderwoman Robinson. I don't think it's funny. Acting Mayor, Ms. Whitby. Okay.
Mr. Ard, we all know your name, but you need to say it before.
I'm fixing to say it, if you'll give me time. I'm Jim Ard. Ms. Whitby, I need a favor of you while I'm saying what I have to say. If you have a ticket in your purse that you purchased for Billy, will you get it out? When I finish, would you make the grand announcement?
Sure.
Thank you very much. First, I want to congratulate Mr. Davenport. Mr. Davenport works at the 911 Center. 4 o'clock this morning, I needed assistance in getting my mother to the hospital. She's in great pain. She's recently apparently had a spider bite, and on Friday we had MIMS out there. She started bleeding. We couldn't stop it. The nurse was there to work with her, and she started bleeding. We couldn't stop it. The fire department shows up first. They get the bleeding stopped. MIM shows up. The reason I wear these gloves tonight is to demonstrate something. The lady on MIMS comes in, which is great, asks was she on any medication, what medication. See, we have a list of it. A-okay. Well, I appreciate that. Then she takes out her e-pen and starts writing on her glove. I said, oh, you must be the driver. She says, no, I work with the patient in the ambulance. He's the driver, referring to the other gentleman. They need to move my mother from the bedroom. Did she go in and help? No. She said, I depend on the firemen to do it for me. Our fire department does not get any portion of money for that. It's a service they provide, but yet she stood back and let them do her work. I followed the ambulance to the emergency room. It was in a non-emergency condition. Now, they like to pull people over when they do wrong and violate the law. This ambulance driver, I've got his unit number, but I won't say it tonight because I did appreciate what they did and I thanked them. But he went across that yellow line not one time, but 7 times between about 5400 block Camp Robinson and getting to the hospital. You know, I didn't dare want to try to get a police to intercept them like they have in the past on some of our citizens. And when we get in court and you have to depend on that device, they say they've got on their onboard computers and all these neat devices and use it for evidence,
Oh, it doesn't work. It's not synced, the time's not synced. And I think they told you at their meeting how great their devices was. And MIMS has pulled several people over and got them arrested or got them a ticket. One guy, I told you once before, is out of Texas. He has never drank, but I've got a tape where they're dispatching. Would you hurry? He's very DWI or DUI. They threw a spotlight on him. There's other ambulance companies that would love to take over this contract. And if they continue to do things like this, like write on gloves and then want to handle the patient, what if that ink gets on that wound or something? I can't tell you what would happen, but I checked with 5 nurses today. 2 of them said when they go into a room that's quarantined, yeah, they have been known to make a note on the glove, but they cannot use that glove or use that hand to do anything with that patient. MIMS needs to look at their practice. I thought they did great work, but I did not call MIMS this morning. I called the fire department. They do better work. Maybe the city needs to take over the ambulance service. I don't know the answer to that one, but y'all need to investigate some of this stuff that they do. Ms. Whitney.
Okay, the ticket that Mr. Ard's referring to is for a fundraiser that is Friday, November the 18th, 2005 at Park Hill Christian Church at 4400 JFK Boulevard. It is an all-you-can-eat chili supper for the North Little Rock Friends of Animals program. And if you can't go, they will be accepting donations. The tickets are $7 for adults and $4 for children 9 to 12.
Thank you. One more thing. I had to get a breath. I followed an ambulance down Pike Avenue on about 16th. I don't remember. I got it written down, but it goes down where it turns back into Broadway. Speed limit down Pike Avenue is 35. It is approximately 50 miles an hour. It is over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. It gets on Broadway. It goes over the yellow line. About a fourth of its ambulance goes over the yellow line. Now, they act like it's a cardinal sin if something happens to them, and they don't want to admit they're wrong. When you talk to Mr. Swanson, he doesn't want to admit they're wrong. You talk to Reverend Thompson, he doesn't want to admit they're wrong. They have policemen on board that's not even certified. They'll jump out and hold a badge on you. I'm going to be like Mr. Taylor. He come down one day about these stinking dogs. I'm going to come down every time I have something on my ambulance and let y'all know what goes on. And I'm sorry I've taken up this much time, but you need to check in to what they do. The board members won't even get back to you when you call them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ard. Anybody else?
Move adjourned.
Second.
Gibson?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
I got on myself.
Height?
Yes.
I worked so damn hard to make the area basically. You guys